offering this satsang series on 5 qualities of an awakened heart. And today's message is the final one in this series. It is be an upstanding human being, and it's focused on the quality of uprightness. I really like that word. It's a quality, of course, that we focus on in our meditation, sitting upright, being upright. But of course, it is a quality of being that really unlocks our highest potential. So, with courage and commitment, it's living the simple, I would say simple, but not easy, straightforward truth of our divine self. This is the message that Lord Krishna gave to his disciple Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita in strong words. Arise, stand up, don't be a coward, don't be afraid to battle your lower drives and tendencies. Don't give them room, cut them off. You have the divine qualities equal to the task, and your divine nature is going to prevail. So, claiming and cultivating those divine qualities contributes to our overall well being. It makes us more skillful in relationship, and it supports our ultimate liberation. So, I've been drawing these qualities from the 16th, the list in the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So I want to read those qualities again. And today I'm going to read from the translation of the Bhagavad Gita by Bhagavad. And I'll be sharing a little bit of his commentary with you. But first, the verses. And I'm going to share verses 1 through 5 at chapter 16. And it starts with the list of the qualities: fearlessness, purity of heart, steadfastness in knowledge and in yoga, charity, control of the senses, sacrifice, study of the scriptures, austerity, and straightforwardness. That's our topic today. Harmlessness, truthfulness, absence of anger, renunciation, peacefulness, absence of crookedness, compassion to all beings, non-covetousness, gentleness, modesty, absence of fickleness, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, purity, absence of hatred, absence of pride. These qualities belong to the one born for the divine state, O Arjuna. And then in the 4th verse, we hear the thankfully shorter list of the negative qualities, which are referred to as demonic qualities, to contrast them to the divine qualities within us. This is not about some external form, but those qualities within us: hypocrisy, arrogance, self-conceit, anger, and also harshness and ignorance belong to one who is born for a demonic state, O Arjuna. And the 5th verse: the divine nature is deemed for liberation, the demonic for bondage. But do not grieve, Arjuna, you are born with divine qualities. And of course, all the commentaries tell us that this is about us. So in this chapter details this list of 26 spiritual qualities. And Baba Haridas writes, these qualities are the natural characteristics of a person of divine disposition, and they are conducive to attaining self-realization. So this is why we study them. This is why we cultivate them. He also writes in his commentary, both the divine and the demonic natures are in the mind. As I mentioned, not in heaven or some nether realm, but they're in the mind. The demonic qualities start fading away, and the path of liberation becomes clear for one who lives a disciplined life and develops positive qualities. So, the positive quality of the day to day is uprightness. The Sanskrit word that is listed in the Bhagavad Gita, which means uprightness, is Arjava. And it means, of course, to make straight, straightforwardness, honesty, rectitude, righteousness. In Baba Haridas's commentary, he says, Arjavam refers to one who is free from crooked impulses in dealing with others, who has no mischievous or deceiving intention, and who is not pretentious in order to achieve respect from others. Instead, such a person is always straightforward in all actions, intention, motives, conditions, and aspirations. That person is harmonious in thought, word, and deed. And then he adds, this is a very important quality for one who is seeking self-realization. So, one who is straightforward, starting with, we have to be self-honest, and we can be honest with others, and we'll be naturally dignified, free of pretension, one who doesn't try to manipulate or impress others, free from what is called impression management, where you're trying to get others to act or feel in a certain way because that'll be better for you. So such a one who is established in uprightness doesn't say or do things to manipulate or try to make others respond in a certain way. Such a person is self-possessed, self-confident, self-contained. I want to share with you this morning that my initial life lesson in Arjava, or straightforwardness, came from my first guru, my beloved grandmother. I deeply loved and respected her. She was wise. She was strong, the family matriarch. She was hardworking and dignified. And when I was about 7 years old, my parents both went away on a vacation, and my grandmother came to stay at our home and to take care of me and my brother so we wouldn't miss school. I loved having her there. And one day at school, some of the older kids told me a dirty joke. Cool, I thought. I'm, I can hang out with the bigger, older kids. I felt so grown up and happy to be included on this little joke. And I couldn't wait to get home and to tell my grandmother the dirty joke. So as soon as I got home, I told my grandma this new, what I thought was a grown-up joke. And I was so surprised at her response. She didn't laugh, and she was obviously displeased. She looked at me and she said, "We don't tell stories like that." "Why not?" I asked. And she replied, "Because that is not who we are." Now, I have to say, at that age, it wasn't at all clear to me who we were or who I was or who I was supposed to be. But my grandmother's teaching was very straightforward. The teaching was aim higher, aim higher. She didn't wash out my mouth with soap, which was the custom of the day, for children who made the mistake of saying something that was considered dirty or foul. Instead, she pointed me towards my higher self in a different way of being, and she herself demonstrated who we are by her very example of how she handled it. As an adult, when I met my spiritual teacher, my guru, Roy Eugene Davis, I recognized that same quality of uprightness in him. And those of you who knew him know exactly what I'm talking about. He was dignified. Just watching him walk into a room could make me sit up taller and straighter. He was straightforward, he was honest and unpretentious in his manner, as well as in the way that he taught us the philosophy and practices of Kriya Yoga. No frills Kriya Yoga. That authenticity in him shined forth as an imperative to drop your own pretenses when you were in his presence. Once I was at his retreat center when they were getting ready to welcome a number of guests for an upcoming program. And one of my brother disciples was working especially hard. He was hurrying from house to house, working on the cleaning and preparing the spaces. He was literally dripping with sweat. And I was so impressed by how hard he was working. And I told my teacher that. And my teacher said to me, "It's not useful." "Why not?" I asked him. So still all those years later, I'm asking, why not? And my guru replied, "Because it's not dignified." So he was teaching me that even when you're working really hard, you can still be self-contained. You can still be balanced and upright. The key is to do whatever we're doing without losing ourself, without losing contact with our center, our divine self. That connection is our connection to being upright. We learn to move through the world with the balance that comes naturally when we have the courage to be authentically who or what we are. Paramahansa Yogananda taught, um, he wrote, "Our true personality comes from God. God is absolute consciousness, absolute existence, and absolute bliss." By concentrating within, he said, you can directly feel the divine bliss of your soul within and also without. If you can stabilize yourself in that consciousness, your outer personality will develop and become attractive to all beings. The soul is made in God's image. And when we become established in soul awareness, our personality begins to reflect God's goodness and beauty. That is your real personality. Any other characteristics you display are more or less a graft. They are not the real you. Yoganandaji's comments on our real personality brings me to a profoundly important part of this teaching. And that is, although uprightness is a quality that reveals our essential goodness, it's not about being good. It doesn't come from putting on any airs of piety or trying to appear spiritual or even trying to be good in that sense. It arises from authenticity, from being authentically who and what we are. We are each expressions of that one reality commonly known as God. And none of us is the same as any other. So that light of the divine self is going to shine through each one of us uniquely. Being straightforward, being upright is the consummate skill of being who we are. So I want to close with a story about the great Rabbi Zusya. This is a story told by Martin Buber in his Hasidic Tales. Rabbi Zusya was on his deathbed when suddenly he becomes overcome with despair and he starts to weep. His students are gathered around him and they don't know what to do to comfort him. So they ask him, "Rabbi, why are you crying? You have lived your whole life, such an exemplary life. You're wise like Moses and truly hospitable like Abraham. Surely God is going to judge you favorably. Zusha answers them, when I get to heaven, I won't worry so much if God asks me, Zusha, why were you not more like Abraham? Or Zusha, why were you not more like Moses? I know the answer to those questions. He said, after all, I was not given the righteousness of Abraham or the faith of Moses, but I did try my best to be both hospitable and thoughtful. But what am I going to say when God asks me, Zusha, why were you not more like Zusha? To be upright, to be authentically who we are, is both the greatest challenge and the greatest privilege of our lifetime. Last words from Stephen Mitchell and his inspiration from verses from the Tao Te Ching. When you are content to simply be yourself and don't compare or compete, everyone will respect you. Just realize where you come from. This is the essence of wisdom. Om.